Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, we're looking at Cardano. Before we get into it, full disclaimer, I own Cardano. I'm bullish on the coin. I think it will do well next bull run. So in this video, I will probably hold some sort of a bias. I always try my best not to, but just be in mind that I own the asset. So naturally, I think the asset will raise in value. Getting that out of the way, today we're going to really focus on the pre-halving time from last cycle that Cardano experienced and try and find some comparisons to this halving cycle that Cardano is currently experiencing. Now, Cardano doesn't actually have a halving, but the Bitcoin halving affects all altcoins and the all altcoin spaces. And there's a few interesting sort of points that I want to go into with this video, but before I do, I'm going to quickly explain what each of these lovely bright colors represents, and we'll know that there's an equal ellipse on the other halving to represent the same point. So first of all, this green is where we mark a low and potentially a cycle low, and in this case so far an all-time low for Cardano, excluding this here. So we put in a low that also sets a support, and we then rally up to this blue, and if we zoom into current day, we can see that we have a green and we've rallied up to a blue. We then see we get a pullback to the yellow that's not very strong, and then a higher move which represents the red, and we see a sort of V shape here. If we move back to current day, we can see we get a pullback that's not too strong, and then a stronger move to the upside where we put in our red, which ends up being our high for a very long time, our local high. We then have a strong pullback to the orange, and if we take a look again at what happened last cycle, we see Cardano had a strong pullback to the orange, and then a rally to the blue, and then a rally to the, not a rally, a sell-off to the purple. And again, going back to present day, we can see that so far we've had a strong rally to the blue, and we're yet to have a sell-off to the purple. Now, potentially, these last three here could be wrong. You could argue that it's already played out in the form here, where we have a pullback to a low, which is an orange, a move up, which is the blue, and put that here, and the purple down here being our final low, where we reconnect with our green. And we can see the purple here reconnects with the green. However, I think it's playing out how it is, and I don't kind of like to hope that it plays out in a similar way, and I don't like to put these sort of things here saying that it will go down, because a lot of people take that as a truth instead of a prediction. In no way can I tell for sure whether Cardano will return down to this price, but I do think it will, and the reason for that is we see it, this orange one here that I've put in, it returned down to this low not too long before. So you can see we have a red and then a dip below where I could have put another color here, another smaller rally up, a lower high, and then down to the orange. And if we zoom in back here, we go from our red and we go down to a low, and I could have put another color here, a small rally up, and then down to the orange. And we can see I've drawn a green line here to represent that they are roughly in line with each other, these two lows, and potentially it could just be coincidence, but these two lows were also in the same place. And just because they're in the same spot as the first low doesn't necessarily disprove the idea that they return to a local low at both points here. And also it sort of makes sense with the time frames as well. We can see that what I drew is we usually get a bear market year, which is the orange, followed by a little bit of a rally up, followed by a second pullback down, which is this white line. And as we can see so far, the charts, this cycle has played out pretty similarly. We get a strong rally down or pull down, a little bit of a recovery rally, followed by a strong pull down again. And these are similar time frames as well that these have happened. So I am more leaning towards this theory of a potential return to our green level. We can see that realistically we did actually wick below on the weekly here, and while we did set in an all-time low for Cardano, we didn't really spend any too long of a period of time below this point. So potentially we might not go all the way back down to here. I do think the crypto space is in for a bit of a rocky time, but I don't know whether it'll be this extreme. Like again, this was a COVID move that caused this drastic sell-off. We might not see a return to this low. We might see a return to here, but in no way does this purple have to play out. I've just left it here as a way marker, and just because the green and purple last cycle returned to the same support line. An argument against that, where you would consider this the orange, this the blue, and this the pink or the purple, is that the rally that we saw afterwards. And if you take it, from, again, last cycle, we can see that after this Cardano rallied for 6 weeks solid without any red in terms of weeks. And what we saw after this, again, if you're moving I will move it so we're not imagining, we're actually looking. So just so you can see, we have the pink here, orange, blue, orange, blue. What we saw afterwards was 6 weeks of rallying after Cardano into the halving. What we've seen currently so far is 7 weeks of pure green by Cardano into the halving, followed by a small little pullback. And, you know, while we didn't really have a small pullback here, it is still negative price action. That is why I'm leaning towards the other theory of orange, blue, purple. But it is just a case to be made because it could play out that way. Again, I think there's more circumstantial evidence that indicates it was like the first way, like this. I will very quickly send these back. Yeah, I think it's more leaning towards this way. Again, the white lines up nicely. The same level here that it's returned to, a local low in a short time frame. But again, no cycle plays out the exact same. And for example, this has already broken how it played out last cycle because this rally has taken out this top. Previously, this dark blue never surpassed this red, but this time it has. So there's always curveballs that the crypto space will throw to make sure things that never play out the same. Ultimately bullish, and just for retrospect, as I was told that I need to say prices more, which is correct. This low that Cardano is at here, this cycle is 25 cents that it's returned to a few times and could potentially return to for a fourth time this cycle. Last cycle, this was 2 cents, or sorry, excuse me, 3 cents. And the price Cardano is currently at is 48 cents, having gone from a high of 68. So again, we had a nice sizable rally from Cardano as well. You know, a good 162%. Not as impressive as a lot of altcoins, but still a good move. We now have retraced not as far as a lot of altcoins as well. So, you know, not too bad, not too good. Pretty much in the middle. Where I think Cardano can go after the halving is also a bit of a tricky one because I'm kind of split on this. Historically, every halving, we've seen altcoins do well on their US dollar and their Bitcoin. Now on their Bitcoin, we'll get into it in a second, but they always have a pullback. And then they have their altcoin summer where altcoins explode against their value of Bitcoin. But as the crypto space gets older and as more and more people move into the market and as more and more people watch videos like this, it's more likely, or to me I feel like, it's more likely that the more people are made aware of this move. So more people go, oh, well, after the halving, altcoins always trend up, so I should buy altcoins now, so that when the halving happens, I can make a quick 2x or a quick 3x. And the more I think about this, the more I feel like it's priced in. Again, you have big institutional buyers now in Bitcoin and altcoins, and not that you didn't have that before, but the sudden jump from 2021 and 2020 to today is enormous in terms of the institutions and just volumes of money and smart money being put into the crypto space. But I also, on the other hand, think the main reason crypto pumps is because a lot of retail investors come in having done no research or very little and just dump their money into crypto during these bull run years. And that's what mainly drives up the price. And so they are ignorant to these facts. They are ignorant to what's happened before. They just hear a great headline and go, oh, I should pick some up just in case. And, you know, the price goes up, line goes up, you know. So I am torn, and it's something I haven't really come to a conclusion on yet, come to a decision on. So maybe that's something for you to think about as well, whether these prices are already priced in. Maybe this rally has been so significant because it's been pricing in the move that's expected after the halving. So when we actually get to the halving, we might see a bit of a sell-off. Who knows? I certainly don't. It's one of those things that we just have to see what happens. Anyway, moving to the Bitcoin pair. Again, a couple of things to look at. Jumping straight into it, we can see that there's obviously a lot of attention and a few lines and graphs gone into this lower part on the Bitcoin pair. This is, of course, where we currently are in our cycle. From the previous cycle, we're around this point here. And you can see there's a few similarities. We can see I've drawn this support line that Cardano has bounced off on its Bitcoin pair a few times. We can see this percentage move up of 92% on its Bitcoin pair isn't too dissimilar to the 73% move up that we saw last cycle before the halving. Again, it was a similar time frame. This half was 6 weeks, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's that move, because I also remember from last video I compared the current move to what we saw here with Cardano, which was during the bear market year. So again, it's not quite fitting into where we are in the cycle. However, the move is possibly much more accurate. And we can see that we have 5 weeks here, so same time frame as here. So it still slots in with this guy. The percentage that we moved up from this point was 77%. So a little closer, and in fact if I measured it from this low, it's probably about 80. We can also see that these two arrows that I've indicated, this low and then a lower low, did seem to play out a pretty similar way here, although you could argue that that happened here or that it happened here. It's just the fact that we found a bit of a rally back up, and it wasn't just on this low. We had a rally, a bit of a consolidation, and then a move up, and that's what we saw here. We had a rally, a consolidation, and a move up, followed by a harsh pullback, which we could currently be experiencing. So it does sort of differ from this zone where I could put an arrow here and an arrow here, and we have a pullback and we just get a rally up and consolidate and go down. This one has played out much more similarly to how this is. Either way, depending on where we are, we do experience a sell-off, a big sell-off. And we can see that it is actually currently around the level that it was obviously here. And we, in both times, went up below and above this 1000 sat level. By the way, for again, sorry, I meant to say this red line is 1000 sats, bang on. So another bit of cooperative circumstantial evidence that does sort of lean into the similarities here. Again, I think it's stupid to assume that things will play out the exact same every cycle, and the fact that we've seen this move earlier in the cycle compared to where we've seen it this time here doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a similar move playing out. I think we still can draw evidence from what we saw here and apply it to here. What I don't think will happen is we'll have this big sell-off, and I don't think we will return to these levels. Unless Bitcoin has a really astronomical rally in the few months after the halving and really takes back a lot of value from the altcoin space, I doubt we'll see Cardano drop to these levels. However, it is possible that, you know, like we saw this time, Bitcoin has a strong rally and Cardano just doesn't follow, and Bitcoin is so strong of a rally and Cardano doesn't really do anything, that maybe we do return to low levels, like maybe at this dip here we could see Cardano return to. I don't think that's too far out of the picture. If we take a percentage move of where that would be, it would be a 50% drop on the Bitcoin pair. That would be quite drastic, especially at this stage and as we are turning into more bullish times. But again, it does kind of make me think, is it priced in, and this extreme bullish movement that we've seen historically, and will that then result in a bearish move? I have two minds over it, basically. Again, taking a look at what Cardano does after the halving, we do see, like I mentioned before, we have a strong move up on the Bitcoin pair, and we move up to 1,500 sats, or we did last time, and then we pulled back to a low of 500 sats. So we dropped 66% over the space of 23 weeks, basically half a year, give or take. Again, I don't think this move has been explosive enough to liken it to the one we saw during and just after the halving. And again, I think it does mirror image quite nicely this move that we saw here. Just an interesting point to maybe be aware of. And we do see here that we put in this first low that we then break below here, and then we basically return to this first initial low that we set here. It is very possible that Cardano does do that, especially over the next few weeks. I think cryptocurrencies will have a much harder time, especially the ones that aren't Bitcoin. And it's only a 26% move down, which again on the Bitcoin pair is a bit drastic, but not unheard of at all. And we had an even stronger move in 1 week back in June this summer. So we could very easily have something like that in February or March, when nothing's really going on with the market, or there's a lot of excitement going on around Bitcoin because of the halving. Again, altcoins can drop in value compared to Bitcoin on a sell-off or on a rally. And historically what we've seen is, as Bitcoin pumps, or at least during bear market years, when Bitcoin pumps, it brings the altcoins up with it, but those altcoins do often lose more value to Bitcoin during that pump. And we saw that so many times over the bear run, especially this cycle, where the weekly doesn't really show it off too well, but we get these moves from Bitcoin that sort of lets the crypto space breathe for a minute, and then Bitcoin stays at a similar level while altcoins just can't keep up and they crash, and we get these small breaths here and there, but they just keep dropping and dropping. So we could see something like this play out, and even though it has been a very strong move to the upside, it doesn't mean we're staying there. Anyway, I think I've gone on for way too long. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Please consider subscribing, really helps out the channel. Again, we're so close to 1,000 subscribers, and it would mean the world for me to get to that number. It would be crazy. Thanks so much. Comment down below what altcoin you want me to review next. Take care and peace.